What's happening, folks? Thanks for tuning in to MMANYC. I'm your host, Jody Smith, and as someone who was born on the 4th of July, tomorrow being my birthday, I gotta say, I feel like I got some early fireworks from last night's UFC 132 event. Pretty incredible, man. We gotta get down to it. Okay, first of all, man, Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber. I bet my boy PJ Chu that Uriah Faber would have the power to possibly finish the fight, provided that he was able to catch Dominic Cruz. But as we saw in the fight, Dominic Cruz took his shots. I think Uriah landed the bigger shots, but in the end, Dominic Cruz, as is usually the case with his fights, he simply outpointed Uriah Faber. There were incredible scrambles, takedowns, get-ups from the takedowns, kicks, knees, punches, jabs, flying elbows. It was just a crazy, really pretty incredible fight. And, I just have to give it up to Dominic Cruz for his speed, his agility, his overall athleticism, and man, who the fuck can fight 5 rounds like that? And that said, Uriah Faber looked like he wasn't hardly winded either. So I think we were going to end up inevitably seeing a rematch of this incredible fight. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most incredible things about last night was the amount of knockouts on one card. You know, the most impressive of which potentially was what Carlos Condit did to Kim last night with the flying knee knockout, earning him Knockout of the Night award. You know, Carlos is a beast after now knocking out Dan Hardy and Dong back to back. He's making a case for a title run. At the very least, he's undoubtedly in the top 5, which is saying something to welterweights. Clearly, there's still John Fitch, there's Koscheck out there. There's a series of guys. There's Jake Ellenberger obviously fighting Jake Shields, GSP obviously fighting Nick Diaz. We got to see who's going to be getting thrown in there. That's a dangerous division. We'll see, but Carlos Condit definitely impressive. Also very impressive last night was what Chris Lieben ended up doing to Vanderlei Silva. I'd actually picked Vanderlei with his new dedication, new team, been training with Mark Munoz. I figured he was just going to come out and be a beast, but Vanderlei's whole fighting style has been swinging, getting up close and swinging those roundhouse shots, and Chris Lieben got inside, and when you want to kind of get in and do a dirty boxing style fight with him, just a grudge match like that, Chris Lieben excels in that. And I remember after the fight he said he didn't hardly even remember knocking out Vanderlei because he was rocked himself. But Chris Lieben, definitely big knockout of Vanderlei. And I mean, my big question is, what does this do for someone like Brian Stann? Where is he in the mix now, considering what he did to Chris Lieben? Brian Stann, man, he's moving up. If Chael Sonnen's coming back, that's a fight I'd like to see. Brian Stann's just a beast. But congrats to Chris Lieben. That's probably the biggest win of his career. Also, a big surprise. I figured Tito Ortiz was going to be getting his walk-in papers, which ended up not being the case somehow. When he rocked Ryan Bader and ended up submitting him, just did not see that. But I got to say, hey, congrats to Tito Ortiz. Maybe he's refocused, re-energized, and he's ready to go. I honestly figured after, I believe it was his 5th fight that he had lost, that he didn't even need to be in the UFC. No one else seems to get that kind of chance. But it was given to him, and in the end it ended up paying off with a submission of the night, actually, in what he did to Ryan Bader. Also impressive knockout of the night was definitely Melvin Guillard, my boy from New Orleans. What's up? And I certainly picked him to beat Shane Roller. Shane Roller had come off with 2 good wins, and ultimately, I mean, Melvin Guillard is undeniably, I think, probably the fastest lightweight fighter in the UFC right now. Just look at this flying knees, the kicks, the punches, everything. The speed ended up catching Roller, which was not too shocking considering how fast Melvin is. What's interesting going forward now is going to be who does Melvin Guillard fight now? He had said in the post-fight that he wanted to fight Jim Miller. Jim Miller obviously fighting Ben Henderson. I'm assuming he's going to win that fight. There's also Dennis Seaver, who won a controversial decision over Matt Wyman last night. That could be a rematch there. We'll see what happens. There's no shortage of lightweight talent out there. Personally, I'd like to see Dennis Seaver fight Anthony Pettis. And yeah, maybe Jim Miller, provided he beats Ben Henderson, fights Melvin Guillard. And then you obviously, you still have Frankie Edgar and Gray Maynard out there whenever that rematch can happen again. Got to see who wins. But undeniably, you're talking about 5, 6, the top lightweights in the world. If only Gilbert Melendez was in there, we'd be seeing what was happening if you mix it up with these UFC guys. Last but not least, yes, Dennis Seaver, my boy, the Deutschland man. Impressive, you know, it was definitely a closer fight than I think the judges' scorecards would tell. I did have him win in the first and third rounds, but he did lose pretty dominant, you know, win in the second round via the cuts and everything that Matt Wyman did. Matt Wyman is a tough dude and is still definitely in the mix. Maybe he fights Ben Henderson, provided Jim Miller beats him. That could be an interesting matchup for Matt Wyman. But in any case, thanks for tuning in. We'll see what happens with all this shit. Man, what an incredible fight! It was like a birthday present for me. So yeah, till we catch up the next time. Thanks, guys.